I always thought I knew my wife better than anyone. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 5, and in all that time, I could read her moods like an open book. Or at least, I thought I could. It started about 3 weeks ago, in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday night. I had just come home from work, exhausted, ready to eat leftovers and collapse on the couch, when I noticed her quickly shoving her phone into her purse as I walked through the door. It was so fast I might have missed it if I wasn't looking right at her. But I was. And my wife, Emily, never did that before. She was never the type to guard her phone like it held state secrets. "Hey," I said, hanging my jacket on the hook. "Hey," she replied, a little too quickly, her voice just a bit higher than usual. I didn't comment, but my mind stored the moment away like a sticky note on a messy desk. It nagged at me the rest of the evening. During dinner, she kept glancing at her phone on the counter, face down, screen locked. And when I got up to grab dessert, she casually slid it into her hoodie pocket. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she was planning something nice. Our anniversary was only a month away. That had to be it, right? Still, a small voice in the back of my mind whispered, "Then why hide it so much?" That night in bed, she turned away from me earlier than usual, scrolling on her phone under the blanket. I could see the faint blue glow lighting up the curve of her cheek. My curiosity burned hotter than I wanted to admit. But I told myself I trusted her. That's what marriage is supposed to be built on, trust. Over the next few days, her strange behavior continued. Random late-night errands to the store. Whispered phone calls in the kitchen when she thought I was upstairs. Even the way she dressed changed. More makeup, more perfume, more time in front of the mirror before heading out with friends. I kept convincing myself it was something good. A surprise party, maybe. A gift she was working on. But the unease inside me was growing like a slow leak in a balloon. Quiet, but impossible to ignore. Then came the moment that turned suspicion into certainty. It was a Saturday afternoon. Emily was in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I wasn't going to touch it. I really wasn't. But the preview on the lock screen lit up, and I saw just enough to freeze me in place. It was a message from someone named M. No last name, no emoji, just a single letter. And the text: "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about it." My stomach dropped so fast it felt like I'd missed a step on the stairs. My pulse roared in my ears. I stared at that phone like it was a live grenade. In that moment, every late-night errand, every hushed phone call, every nervous glance suddenly made sense, and I hated the picture it was painting. The shower turned off. I had seconds to decide what to do. My hands hovered over her phone. Do I unlock it? Do I wait? Do I confront her right now while she's still dripping wet and unprepared to lie? I slipped the phone back exactly where it was, my mind racing. I needed to know more before I said anything. I needed proof. Because if I was wrong, it could destroy everything for nothing. But deep down, I already knew. I just wasn't ready to admit it. For the rest of that Saturday, I moved through the house like a ghost. Emily hummed to herself as she blow-dried her hair, completely unaware of the message I'd seen. She even kissed me on the cheek before heading out to meet Sarah for coffee, the same Sarah I now suspected didn't even know she was supposed to be meeting her. I sat on the couch staring at the TV without really watching. My mind was replaying every moment of the last 3 weeks, stitching them together into a story I didn't want to believe. But the message from M was burned into my brain. Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about it. There was no innocent explanation for that. None. By the time she came home that evening, I decided on one thing. I wasn't going to confront her until I had everything. Texts, calls, dates. If this was going to end, it wasn't going to be because I jumped to conclusions. It would be because the truth was undeniable. Over the next few days, I became someone I barely recognized. I started noting down every time she left the house, every excuse she gave. I checked bank transactions when she was in the shower. Once, I even drove by the friend's place she claimed to be visiting, only to see her car parked outside a restaurant across town. The paranoia was eating me alive, but so was the need to know. Then, on Thursday night, I got my chance. We were in the living room, Emily sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone while I pretended to be absorbed in a sports game. She got up to grab a glass of water, leaving her phone face down on the coffee table. The screen lit up with another message from M. I glanced toward the kitchen. She was out of sight. My hand trembled as I flipped the phone over and tapped the screen. The preview showed Same place tomorrow? Can't wait to see you again. My chest tightened, heat rushing to my face. My vision tunneled. I opened the conversation. There it was, a chain of messages stretching back weeks. Flirty banter. Inside jokes I didn't understand. Photos, not explicit, but intimate enough to make my stomach churn. And dates. Times. Places. I scrolled faster, my heart pounding like I'd just run a marathon. One message from her read. I hate lying to him, but I can't stop seeing you. Another. He has no idea. You make me feel alive. I put the phone down just seconds before she walked back in. You okay? She asked, sipping her water. Her eyes searched my face for something. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile so fake it almost hurt. Just tired. She nodded, sat back down, and leaned against me like nothing was wrong. The weight of her body against mine felt like a lead blanket. My mind screamed at me to say something, but my mouth wouldn't cooperate. That night, lying in bed beside her, I stared at the ceiling for hours. Her breathing was slow and even. I could have reached out and touched her hand, but I didn't. The gulf between us had never felt wider. The next day, I called in sick to work. I followed her. I told myself it was just to confirm what I already knew, but really, I think I was hoping, against all logic, that I'd been wrong. She left the house at 10:15 a.m., dressed in a way she never dressed for errands. Heels, a fitted dress, her hair curled. I stayed 3 cars behind her the whole way. She didn't go to Sarah's. She didn't go shopping. She drove straight to a little cafe downtown, where M was waiting. And M wasn't just anyone. It was Mark, my best friend since college. The guy who had been the best man at our wedding. The guy I'd trusted with every secret I'd ever had. I sat in my car across the street, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. They hugged. Not a friendly hug. The kind of hug where you hold on just a second too long, where your hands linger. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred with rage and disbelief. Every laugh I'd shared with Mark, every time I'd welcomed him into my home, every drink we'd had together, it all felt like a cruel joke now. They sat down at a corner table, leaning in close, smiling like teenagers in love. I watched them for half an hour, my stomach twisting with every second that passed. When Emily finally reached across the table and touched his hand, I knew this wasn't some fling. This was something deeper, something that had been going on for a long time. And in that moment, sitting there in my car, I made a silent promise to myself. I was going to get every piece of proof I needed. And when I confronted them, there would be no way out. No lies. No excuses. Just the truth. The next morning, I woke up before Emily. The sunlight was barely breaking through the curtains, painting her face in soft gold. She looked peaceful, beautiful even, but all I could see was the image of her holding Mark's hand in that cafe. My chest tightened with a mixture of anger, sadness, and the kind of disbelief that makes you feel like you're in someone else's life. I slipped out of bed quietly, careful not to wake her, and made my way to the kitchen. My coffee tasted bitter, even though I'd made it the same way I always did. Every sound in the house, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the floorboards, felt louder, heavier. It was like my senses were on high alert, as if my body was preparing for a fight. When she finally woke up and came downstairs, she smiled at me like nothing was wrong. "Morning," she said, pouring herself a cup of coffee. "Morning," I replied, my voice flat. I tried not to look at her too long, afraid she might see the storm brewing behind my eyes. She sat across from me at the table, scrolling through her phone. I watched her fingers move, wondering if she was texting him right now, wondering if she was smiling at something he'd said. My stomach turned. Around noon, she said she needed to run errands. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral, and waited exactly 5 minutes before grabbing my keys and following her again. This time, I was ready. I had my phone recording video from the dashboard. She drove across town to a small park. I stayed back, parking on a side street where I could still see her. Mark showed up 5 minutes later, walking toward her with that same smug grin I'd once thought was charming. They embraced, not a quick hello, but a slow, deliberate hug, the kind where you breathe the other person in. I zoomed in with my camera, my hands shaking. Every instinct in me screamed to get out of the car, to walk over there and tear this whole facade apart. But I didn't. I stayed put. Because if I confronted them now, I'd get anger, denial, maybe even some fake tears. But if I waited, if I gathered every last shred of proof, they wouldn't be able to twist their way out. They sat on a bench under a tree, talking quietly, laughing in a way that made my blood boil. At one point, Emily rested her head on his shoulder. He kissed the top of her head. My grip on the steering wheel was so tight, I thought the leather might rip. After about an hour, they stood up and walked toward his car. And then, right there in broad daylight, they kissed. Not a peck. A real kiss, slow, familiar, and passionate. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I hit record again, capturing every second. They left together in his car. I followed at a distance, every nerve in my body buzzing. He drove her back to our neighborhood, dropping her off 2 blocks away. She walked home, probably thinking I was at work, none the wiser. When she walked through the front door, I was sitting at the kitchen table, pretending to be on my laptop. She smiled at me. "Hey, you're home early," she said. "Yeah," I replied, forcing my voice to stay calm. "Had some things to take care of." She kissed me on the cheek and went upstairs. I just sat there, staring at the spot where she'd been standing, the air still holding her perfume, and beneath it, the stench of betrayal. That night, I started going through months of old photos on my phone and social media. I looked for anything. Trips she said were girls' weekends, late nights out, even the times she'd claimed she was staying late at work. The more I looked, the more the puzzle pieces started fitting together in ways I wished they wouldn't. There were gaps, holes in her stories, places where her timeline didn't add up. And in those gaps, I could almost see Mark's face. By midnight, I had a folder on my laptop labeled Truth. It was filled with screenshots, videos, and notes. I wasn't sure yet what I was going to do with it, but I knew that when the time came, this folder would be my weapon. As I closed my laptop, Emily shifted in her sleep beside me, murmuring something I couldn't make out. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, my heart heavy with the knowledge that the life I thought I had was already gone. All that was left now was the reckoning. The next few days were torture. I moved through the motions of everyday life, like I was watching someone else's routine through a foggy window. Emily was her usual self, smiling, asking me about work, cooking dinner as if she wasn't meeting Mark behind my back. Every laugh she let out, every touch of her hand, every "I love you" felt like a calculated performance. I couldn't stand it anymore. I needed to see how deep this went. So, on Thursday, I came home early without telling her. I parked my car 2 blocks away and walked the rest of the way quietly. From outside our living room window, I could hear her voice. She was on the phone. Her tone was soft, almost giddy. My stomach tightened. I moved closer, just enough to hear her words. "Yeah, I miss you too," she whispered. My heart started pounding. "No, don't worry, he has no idea. We'll figure something out." A pause, then a little laugh. "Saturday works. Same place as last time." My blood turned to ice. I didn't want to hear more, but I couldn't stop. My hands were shaking so badly, I thought the phone in my pocket would fall to the ground. I stepped back quickly before she could see me, returning to the street like I'd just gotten home from work. When I walked through the door, she smiled at me as if the conversation had never happened. "Hey, babe, you're home early again," she said, walking over to kiss me. I forced a smile, tasting the bitterness of her betrayal. "Yeah, traffic wasn't bad," I replied, hanging up my jacket. Over dinner, I watched her closely. She asked about my day, told me some story about a coworker, but I barely heard her. I was studying her face, her expressions, trying to see if she'd crack. She didn't. She was good. Too good. That night, after she went to bed, I sat in the dark living room, staring at the glow of my laptop screen. I pulled up the videos and photos I'd collected, clicking through them one by one. Each image was another nail in the coffin of our marriage. But I needed more. I needed something undeniable, something she couldn't twist into an innocent misunderstanding. Saturday came faster than I expected. Emily dressed up more than usual, hair curled, makeup perfectly done, wearing a dress I'd only ever seen her wear on special occasions. She said she was meeting a friend for lunch. I nodded, pretending to be distracted by my phone. As soon as she left, I grabbed my keys and followed. This time, I stayed farther back, using side streets and taking my time. She drove straight to a hotel on the edge of town. My chest tightened. I pulled over, my hands gripping the wheel until my knuckles went white. Mark was already there, standing by the entrance. She got out of her car, and they didn't even hesitate. They kissed right there in the parking lot. Long, slow and familiar. My breath caught in my throat. I raised my phone and hit record, zooming in as much as I could. My pulse was so loud in my ears, I almost couldn't hear the sound of my own breathing. They disappeared into the hotel lobby together. I sat there for what felt like hours, every muscle in my body tense. My mind was spinning with thoughts. Should I storm in there? Should I wait? Should I call her and tell her I know? Every option felt wrong, but the idea of doing nothing felt even worse. After about 2 hours, they came out. She looked flushed, her hair slightly messy. He was smiling like he'd just won something. They kissed again before she got in her car. I recorded all of it. When she got home later, I was in the kitchen, pretending to make dinner. How was lunch? I asked casually, my voice steady despite the storm inside. It was great, she said, placing her purse on the counter. We ended up shopping afterward. I nodded slowly. Must have been fun. That night, I barely slept. I lay next to her, listening to her breathing, wondering how she could lie so easily. My mind replayed every moment we'd ever shared. Our wedding day, vacations, late-night talks, and each memory now felt poisoned. By Sunday morning, I'd made up my mind. This wasn't going to be a screaming match in the kitchen or a tearful argument in the living room. No, this was going to be calculated, precise. I was going to destroy the illusion she'd built piece by piece, and when I was done, there would be no room left for excuses. I started writing everything down: dates, times, places, what she wore, what she said. I organized my truth folder on my laptop, labeling every file in order. I even backed it all up to a USB drive, just in case. And then, for the first time in days, I smiled. Because I knew that the next move was mine. By Monday, I was done being the audience to my own life. If this was a play, I was stepping onto the stage. I took the day off and set things up carefully. First, I printed everything: dates, times, locations, screenshots, and the videos I'd taken. I laid them out on the dining table in a clean grid, each sheet in a plastic sleeve, each photo numbered. It looked cold, clinical. It looked like the truth. Then I set my phone on the shelf under the TV and paired a small Bluetooth remote to it. With one click, the living room speakers would play the recordings I'd captured. The hotel parking lot, the cafe hand touch, the park bench kiss. I didn't want to yell. I wanted the room to speak for me. Around noon, Emily texted that she'd be home by 6. Let's do dinner? I'll pick up something nice. I wrote back, sounds good. It was the most honest thing I'd said in days. Dinner was going to be unforgettable. At 5:30, I set the table. 2 plates, 2 wine glasses, a small vase with the flowers she liked, the one she used to say smelled like happy mornings. I dimmed the lights and opened the window just enough to let in the evening air. If this was going to fall apart, it would do it neatly. She walked in at 6:05, cheeks flushed from the cooling day, a paper bag with takeout balanced on her hip. Hey, she said, smiling. Hungry? Starving, I said. I meant it in ways neither of us said out loud. We ate for a while and talked around the edges of things: work, a neighbor's new car, whether we should replace the faucet in the bathroom. She kept glancing at me like she was checking the temperature of the room. I kept my voice level, my fork steady. Halfway through, I asked, "Can we do something different tonight?" She paused. "Okay," she said slowly. "What do you mean?" "I want to listen to something together." I reached for the remote in my pocket. "Just listen, and then we'll talk. Please." She looked wary, but she nodded. I clicked once. From the speakers, a soft wind and faint traffic. Then her laugh, light and unguarded, floated into the room. A second later, Mark's voice. "You look incredible." Then the wet, unmistakable sound of a kiss. The color drained from her face so fast, it was like someone had pulled a plug. Her fork clinked against her plate. "Andrew," she whispered, the name falling out of her like a dropped glass. I clicked again. The cafe, her hand across the table on his. Her voice. "I hate lying to him, but I can't stop seeing you." Silence blew through the room like a winter draft. She stared at the speakers, then at me, then at the neat grid of papers on the dining table behind me. She knew what they were without reading them. "Say it," I said quietly. "Say what this is." Her eyes filled. Her throat worked. "It's what it sounds like." "No," I said. "It's exactly what it is." She covered her mouth with her hand, and for a long moment we just breathed in the same room and listened to the sound of something that used to be whole, splitting. "I was going to end it," she said hoarsely. I swear to you I was. I know that doesn't matter now, but I said. Was is a future you didn't choose. She reached for me, then stopped halfway, her fingers gripping air. I'm so sorry, she said. I can't take it back. I can't explain it in a way that makes it all right. I was lonely and angry and stupid, and I picked the worst possible person. Yeah, I said. My best friend. Good aim. She winced like I'd struck her. I didn't plan any of it. I know, I said. That's part of why it scares me. She swallowed and tried again. If there's anything left that I can do, I'll do it. Delete everything. Change my number. See a therapist with you, without you. I'll tell him it's over. I'll tell his wife, too, if you want me to. I'll do whatever it takes to earn even a chance at being forgiven. A laugh came out of me, short and wrecked. Forgiveness isn't a coupon code, I said. You don't type in whatever it takes and get 20% off the damage. She wiped at her face. I know, she said again, smaller. I stood and walked to the table of evidence. I put my hand on the top sheet, Saturday's hotel parking lot, her hair messy, his grin smug, and felt the slick of the plastic sleeve under my palm. This is not here to humiliate you, I said. It's here because the last 3 weeks have felt like a fever dream. So when I wake up tomorrow and my mind tries to write a softer version, I'll have this, to remind me that it happened. She nodded, tears running clean tracks down her cheeks. I won't ask you to pretend it didn't, she said. I won't ask you to move on before you're ready. I don't even know if I'll ever be ready to forgive myself. Good, I said softly. That's at least one honest sentence between us. Her face crumpled. I could see the girl I fell in love with under the woman who'd lied to me, like 2 photos printed on the same sheet and slightly misaligned. It hurt so much I had to look away. Tell me one thing, I said. When did you know it was more than a mistake? She closed her eyes. The cafe, she said. The first time I reached for his hand without thinking. I nodded. There was a ringing in my ears, a high electric whistle that made the room look too bright. Okay, I said. Then you're going to do a few things. You're going to call him and end it while I'm here. You're going to call his wife after that and tell her the truth. And then you're going to pack a bag and go to your sister's tonight. You don't text me unless I text you first. You don't show up here without asking. If you want any chance at a later conversation that isn't just logistics, you do all of that. If you don't, then consider this the last dinner we ever have. She nodded, fast, like she'd expected worse. I'll do it, she said. Right now. I gestured to the couch. She sat, hands shaking, and unlocked her phone. I stood by the window and stared at the reflection of us in the glass. 2 silhouettes in a room that used to be ours. She scrolled to his contact and hit call. He picked up on the second ring, voice bright like he was already mid-smile. Hey you. It's over, Emily said, voice breaking and then finding itself. Don't call me again. Don't text me again. Don't come to my house or my work. It's over. A beat of silence. Then Mark's tone turned sharp, surprised. What? Emily, what are you? Did he find? It's over, she repeated, firmer. If you care at all about the mess you've helped make, you'll respect that and disappear. A laugh, short, ugly. You think he's going to take you back after this? You think? I took 2 steps and spoke, loud enough for the mic to catch. She doesn't need a commentary track from the man who couldn't keep his hands off a married woman, I said. Hang up, Emily. She did. Her hands were shaking so hard, she had to set the phone down on the coffee table. She pressed her palms together, like she was praying for steadiness. His wife, I said. She nodded, picked up the phone again, and scrolled. I don't have her number, she said, voice small. I never. I do, I said, and slid a card across to her. Claire Davis. Ryan had gotten it for me, and I'd written it down so I wouldn't have to scroll for it with clumsy hands. Emily dialed. The phone rang 4 times. Hello. Claire's voice, careful, wary, older sounding than she probably was these days. This is Claire. Claire, Emily said, and then swallowed. My name is Emily. I'm calling because I've been involved with your husband, and you deserve to hear it from me. I'm ending it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. On speaker, Claire was quiet for a long few seconds that stretched like wire. Why are you telling me? She asked finally. Her voice wasn't angry. It was something worse. Tired. I already filed the papers. Because I helped break something that wasn't mine, Emily said, words tumbling out. And because I'm trying to do the only right thing left. Claire breathed out. Then tell me the dates, she said. Tell me the places. Not for the court. For me, Emily did. She listed them, in a voice that got smaller with each location. When she finished, Claire said, "Thank you for telling me. Don't call me again." The line clicked off. Emily put the phone down and folded over herself, hands to her face, shoulders trembling. I watched, feeling everything and nothing. Most people think fury is the hottest emotion. They don't tell you about the cold one that comes after, when the body is too tired to burn. "Go pack," I said. She nodded, stood, and moved down the hallway like someone walking underwater. I turned off the speakers and sat in her chair. The house hummed. Outside, a car door slammed, and someone laughed 3 houses down. The ordinariness of it made the room tilt. Emily came back with a small duffel and stopped at the end of the table. Her eyes landed on one photo, her with the wine at the cafe, sunlight in her hair, and slid away like it hurt to look straight at it. "I'll go to my sister's," she said. "I'll send you proof that I told him and his wife. I won't contact you unless you ask me to. I'll do the rest. Therapy. Whatever you need from me to make this less." "Nothing makes it less," I said, not unkindly. "Some things just are. We deal with them, or we let them deal with us." She nodded, gripping the strap of the bag. "I know you don't owe me anything," she said quietly. "But if there's ever a day when you want to talk, I'll be there." I didn't promise anything. I didn't deny it either. Some answers grow in the dark, like seeds or mold. You don't know which until you lift the lid. She turned toward the door. Her hand hovered on the knob. Then she looked back at me one last time. Eyes raw, mouth steady. "I'm sorry," she said. "Real sorry, the kind that doesn't ask for a receipt." I nodded once. She opened the door and stepped into the hallway. The apartment swallowed the sound of her steps. The latch clicked. Silence poured in. I stood and started gathering the pages from the table, sliding them back into a single stack. Not to erase them, just to put them where the air couldn't turn them into wallpaper. My phone buzzed on the shelf. An unknown number. I answered without thinking. "Andrew?" A familiar voice said, close to the receiver, too calm. "Mark, I think we should talk man-to-man before you do anything dramatic." I felt the old anger rise like heat under ice. "What could you possibly say that wouldn't make this worse?" I asked. "I'm outside," he said. "Let me in. 5 minutes. If you still want me gone after that, I'll disappear." I walked to the window and pulled the curtain a half-inch. There he was, leaning against a black sedan like he owned the street. Face composed the way a liar's face gets when they think they're still in the game. I didn't answer. I just watched him breathe my air from the curb. "Come on, man," he said into the phone, voice turning friendly, familiar, deadly. "It's me." That was the problem. It was. I looked at the door, at the stack of evidence, at the empty chair where Emily had sat. I had all the proof I needed. What I didn't have yet was the decision. I brought the phone back to my ear, heartbeat thudding slow and hard. 5 minutes, I said. No more. And if you lie once, you're done. I hung up and walked to the door. My hand closed around the deadbolt. The lock turned. Monday morning arrived with a cold, gray sky that matched the weight in my chest. Emily moved through the kitchen as if nothing in the world was wrong, pouring coffee, humming under her breath, her hair tied up in that messy bun I used to find so endearing. I sat at the table, my hands wrapped around a mug that had gone lukewarm, watching her every move. It was like observing a stranger in my home. She caught me staring. "What?" she asked with a small smile, tilting her head. "Nothing," I replied, forcing my voice to stay even. "Just thinking." She shrugged and went back to her coffee, completely unaware that every word, every gesture was being filed away in my mind as evidence. The calmness I felt over the weekend was gone, replaced by an almost electric anticipation. I wasn't just waiting anymore. I was preparing. That afternoon, I left work early and drove to a small electronics store across town. I bought a tiny, high-definition voice recorder, small enough to hide in my pocket or tape under a table. My hands trembled slightly as I handed over my credit card. This wasn't paranoia anymore. This was war. When I got home, Emily wasn't there. I used the time to plant the recorder in her car, tucked deep into the seam under the driver's seat. I tested it. It picked up everything, even faint whispers. If she made plans with Mark again, I'd hear every word. That night, she was in a playful mood, leaning against the counter as I cooked, stealing little bites of food before I could plate it. She asked about my day, laughed at a dumb joke I made. If I didn't know the truth, I might have thought it was one of our good nights. But now, Every smile felt like a mask. Every laugh felt like a lie. 2 days later, the recorder paid off. I sat in my car outside my office, my phone connected to the recorder's app, listening to the playback. Her voice came through clear, crisp, like she was sitting right beside me. "Yeah, I can't stop thinking about you," she said softly. A pause. "No, he doesn't suspect anything. He's been busy with work." "Saturday? Same place?" My stomach churned. There it was again, Saturday. Always Saturday. Always the same place. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt, rewinding the audio and listening again, memorizing every inflection in her voice. This time, I wasn't going to just follow. I was going to confront her, but not in the way she expected. Saturday morning, I told Emily I had to work late. She kissed me goodbye and said, "Don't work too hard." The hypocrisy in her tone almost made me laugh. I drove in the opposite direction of my office, parking in a lot near the hotel she favored. I set up my phone on a small tripod in the back seat, camera aimed perfectly at the entrance. For 2 hours, I sat there, the minutes dragging, my mind flipping between anger and a cold, calculated focus. Finally, her car appeared. She stepped out, wearing that same dress from the last time. Her hair was perfect, her makeup flawless. A few moments later, Mark's car pulled up. He got out, looking around casually before spotting her. They hugged, but it wasn't the kind of hug friends give. It lingered, with his hand sliding lower than it should have. I filmed everything. But this time, I didn't just watch them walk inside. I got out of my car and followed at a distance. I could hear them laughing as they stepped into the elevator. I waited, watching the floor number light up as it ascended. My hands were sweating, my pulse pounding in my ears. I didn't even know what I'd say if I knocked on the door. Part of me wanted to, just to see their faces. Instead, I took a different approach. I went back to my car and drove straight home. On the way, I stopped at a print shop and had some of the clearest screenshots from the videos printed out. Large, glossy, undeniable. When Emily came home that evening, I was waiting in the living room. The photos were spread out on the coffee table, a silent minefield between us. She froze when she saw them. Her eyes darted from one image to the next, her lips parting slightly. What is this?" "You tell me," I said, my voice low but steady. Her face paled. She stepped forward, picking up one of the photos with trembling fingers. "This isn't what it looks like." I actually laughed at that. A short, humorless sound. That line doesn't work when you're standing in front of a hotel with another man, kissing him like you're married to him. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her eyes filled with tears, and she shook her head. "It's complicated." "No," I said, leaning forward. "It's actually really simple. You lied. You cheated. And you thought I was too blind to notice." For a long moment, she just stood there, her breathing shallow. Then she dropped the photo back onto the table and turned away, her shoulders shaking. I didn't follow her. I didn't comfort her. I just sat there, letting the silence stretch between us, knowing that for the first time, she realized I wasn't playing her game anymore. This was only the beginning. I was sitting in my car outside the coffee shop, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My plan for the day had been simple: grab a coffee, clear my head, and figure out my next move. But then my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from Lisa, Emily's best friend. "We need to talk. Alone. It's about her." My stomach tightened immediately. I hadn't spoken to Lisa in weeks, not since the last time Emily and I went out with her and her husband. But something about the message made my pulse quicken. She sounded urgent and guilty. When she walked into the coffee shop, her eyes darted around like she was checking for someone. She slid into the booth across from me, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. "Listen," she started, voice low. "I can't keep this to myself anymore. I've known for months about her and that guy." Her words hit me like a brick to the chest. Months. Not days, not weeks, months. My mind went blank for a second, the background noise of the coffee shop fading into a low hum. "You knew," I said slowly, my voice shaking. "And you didn't tell me?" Lisa's eyes welled up. "I wanted to, but Emily begged me not to. She said it was a mistake, that she was going to end it. I didn't want to get in the middle of your marriage." I leaned back, the seat creaking under my weight. My hands were trembling now, not from shock, but from a cold, sharp anger. "So you just let me live like a fool? While everyone else knew the truth?" Her gaze dropped to the table. "Not everyone. Just me, and maybe Mike." "Mike?" I snapped, my voice rising despite myself. Your husband knew too? Lisa winced. He overheard Emily talking to him on the phone once. He put two and two together. I couldn't believe it. All this time, I'd been surrounded by people smiling to my face, while they were silently holding onto the knife in my back. At that moment, my decision crystallized. You know what, Lisa? I'm done playing the quiet, heartbroken husband. She's been living like there are no consequences. That ends now. Her eyes widened. What are you going to do? I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I'm going to give her a stage. And an audience. Let's see how she likes performing when she doesn't control the script. Lisa's hand flew to her mouth. Oh God, you're serious. Dead serious. The image of Emily's smug, unsuspecting face flashed in my mind. I could already picture it. A room full of people, her lies unraveling in real time. No more shadows. No more secrecy. Just the truth, burning bright for everyone to see. And this time, I wouldn't be the one left in the dark. I sat in my car outside our house for what felt like hours, my fingers drumming against the steering wheel. Through the living room window, I could see Emily moving around, completely unaware that her world was about to change forever. My phone buzzed again, a message from Lisa. Are you sure about this? I typed back, asterisk, more than ever. Asterisk. I walked up to the front door, my heart pounding, but my mind razor sharp. I'd invited a few people over under the pretense of a small get-together. In reality, it was my stage. My moment. My truth. When I stepped inside, Emily looked up from arranging snacks on the coffee table. Hey, she said, smiling. What's all this? I smiled back, but there was nothing friendly in it. We're having a little gathering. Some friends are coming by. Before she could question me further, the doorbell rang. Lisa and Mike walked in, followed by two of Emily's coworkers, and, most importantly, her sister. I could see confusion flicker across Emily's face, but she kept playing hostess. Once everyone settled, I stood in the center of the room. Thank you all for coming, I began. I have something important to share, something I think everyone here deserves to know. Emily froze. Her eyes darted to Lisa, who avoided her gaze. What are you doing? She whispered, but I kept talking. For months, I've been living in the dark. For months, my wife has been having an affair. Gasps filled the room. Emily's sister's hand flew to her mouth. Mike shifted uncomfortably. That's not. Emily started, but I cut her off. I have the messages, the photos, the receipts, and I want you all to see exactly what she's been hiding. I pulled out my phone and started casting the screenshots to the TV. One by one, the truth flashed across the screen, her texts, her late-night plans, her promises to him. Emily's face went pale. Please, stop, she whispered, but no one moved to help her. The silence in the room was heavier than any scream. When the last screenshot faded, I looked around. This is who she really is. And I deserve better. Emily's eyes brimmed with tears. Can we please talk about this privately? I shook my head. No more privacy. No more lies. Without another word, I walked past her, out the door, and into the cool night air. My heart was pounding, but for the first time in months, I felt free. As I drove away, my phone buzzed again, a message from Emily. I didn't open it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because sometimes, the only closure you get is the moment you finally stop caring.